Okay, so for the next code along that I need to name, but I haven't, we're going to finish up adding the buttons back, the action buttons, and we're going to do a little refactoring. Okay, so code along where we picked up from the last one. So in this case, right, I have the code as we left it last time. We know it works, right? First, last, hopefully invite. Wait, it's really important to have working code as you come into your next code along, because otherwise it'll get a little confusing, right? So what we want to do is bring back those action buttons, because that is going to give us our CRUD. We're going to code that to be our edit, right? So our CRUD, our update, and our delete. But our edit and our delete, we'll call it. But it is the last two CRUD operations. So we need the heading back. That's pretty easy, right? We need now also every time, and you have to think about this. So I'm gonna dynamically create the row, right, with the TDs in there. And as I drop down, right, I'm going to create the buttons, and then I'm going to drop down, meaning finish out the row, and then create your new row, your next row. So when we're coding this, we have to think about where we're creating our TDs and our TRs, okay? So our rows and our columns. Because in this case, we're going to, remember, this happens once we finish iterating over the object, okay? So we have to think about, okay, so once we do that, then how do we, and let's just kind of do it in stages here. The first thing I would do is let's create my buttons, right? So I know last time if I just started with uncommenting out these lines, right? I know I'm going to have a conflict already here, okay? Because I can only append that body, right? Actually, no, it's this line right here. That line is an issue. And actually, this TR is an issue. But to kind of see it in the way that it's going to operate, I would go ahead and comment these out. I would, for now, right, comment. Let's actually walk through it in our head. That might be a better way to do this. So now that we're through creating the row, right, we're attaching the row into the body, but we actually want to create this structure right there, right? Because why? Because this part is actually part of and I would cut that, right? Now where do we want to do it, right? We want to do it right here. Okay? Now why do we want to do it here is what you want to think about, right? I don't know why it bugs me. I have to I have to actually fix it each time. It's crazy, I know. Okay? So now, and remember, this is block scoped here, and I've called it a TD. So I should be fine doing it here because it's out of that block scope. Keep that in mind. Creating the buttons, updating the buttons, and then here, right, before I do this, I actually need to update. I need to do this here. Okay? So I've updated the column, and now I'm going to update the row, and now with the row, right, I'm going to update the body every time. Which means I should not need to do this anymore. Now, we're not done by any means because we have to test, always test. But there's one other thing, and probably I should have tested before, but before I do this, I know I'm going to need the action because by adding now back the buttons, right, I have to have a heading for them. So what I could do here is just get rid of this one and bring back that one because that was what we originally had. And let's see what our code looks like. Okay, first, last. Oh, we'll do 1 so we know it's the first one, really the index one. Oh, look at that. That's awesome, right? I'm going to get rid of some of this console log stuff too inside because I don't need it. But the key is, right, doing it again. Does it actually create that row correctly for us is what you want to now make sure of. Let's do large just to submit. Oh, it does. Look at that. It actually works great. So kind of look at this code and let's do a couple of things. I'm going to get rid of that because we no longer need it. Okay. And now within my loop, right, once I loop over the object, creating the row so far, then I create another column. I then edit that, okay, the text. I append that child. So I take the TD and I append here. And remember, I'm creating one TD. If you're not sure about that, look at it. Okay. Now, should I create a different TD for them? You know, I kind of like them like this because I could also give them icons. I like them being in there. It's like the actions you can take. And it's good to when we start coding them to kind of have them there as well. I mean, you don't have to, but anyway, so then we do all that work of creating that. And again, the reason I can say TD here and I can say TD here is this is block scoped in here. And once I drop out, I can do that. And that can be confusing when you first look at it. Okay. And then in here, and because T body is declared outside of the scope of this loop. Again, we have a nested loop here. We have a for each and we have a for of. I know I kind of quickly went over when I messed that up, but hopefully I did explain the difference between in and of. Okay, so that gives us now, right? So I'm already looking at this and starting to go, how can I make this cleaner? Right? How can I make this thing cleaner? Because I know I'm not done coding, right? The thing about this code is that this loop, right, all the way to here, seems like a logical chunk in and of itself that I could return. What could I do? How could I do that? I think that'll make that the next challenge, right? I haven't done it yet, so I'm going to have you attempt to take this structure that we've created here, and make a function just for creating the row. Okay, so I'm giving you this along with a challenge. So give it a shot and then I'll show you the solution.